Greetings. Welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Willie Muhammad.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Peace, brothers and sisters. You know, one of the definitions of the word survivor is, quote, a person who continues to function or prosper in spite of opposition, hardships, or setbacks, end of quote. Today, family, we have a brother who, in my opinion, exemplifies that word. I've had the opportunity to hear his testimony on several occasions, and every time I hear it, I realize that I'm in the presence, which, from my opinion, in the presence of a miracle. You know, so we have with us our guest, Brother Calvin X. He's from New Orleans. So he's one of our top conflict mediators. He's an addictive behavior specialist. And I can go on and on about the titles and the work that brother is doing in the community and even outside of the state of Louisiana when he goes to different places. He is also an author as well. And here's a clip of him talking about how he was blessed to survive after his car was sprayed with bullets.
And one day, after me and this guys had this disagreement, bad drug dealer, right? And so we had that disagreement. I seen one of them one day try to chase him. He must have fought or something. I don't know how I lost him, right?
You gonna kill him?
And I was full of them drugs, right? And I pulled up right in front of this store, right across the street, because I didn't see him before. And as I pulled there, I was turning the car and my keys fell. When I bent down to get the keys, dude was on the side shooting, knocking every window out in there. So I'm sitting there, I got this starter jacket on, this Raider jacket. You know, real men wear black. That's how we used to play that, right? And I can feel all the bullets going through the jacket. The back of the jacket was ripped up. But I had not been hit, not one time. Right? So now, landed in the car with the gun in my hand. So I just like people to know that guns don't really save your life. Because I see too many people dead with a gun in their lap, a gun in their hand, a gun right next to them, right? And I'm laying on the seat. I got the gun in my hand. I can't raise up and shoot because the dude putting in work, right? So when he must have ran out, he stopped shooting when I raised the gun. He went down the street. I didn't even know if it was him because I was beating with so many people. I knew I was chasing him, but I didn't know it was him until I seen the car. You know, and we got to the shootout right there. You know,
Wow, and listen, we haven't even gotten to the interview yet, and you hear the testimony that our brother was sharing. This was at a book signing that he has done, and we're going to talk about his book. So, assalamu alaikum, Brother Calvin.
Wa alaikum salam, brother.
Thank you
How's it
for
going?
my God's grace, good, man. Thank you for
Praise
joining
be
us.
to
I'm
Allah.
excited about this. So we'll jump right into this interview. You know, I began the show as we saw about you talking. I began the show talking about how, to me, you are a walking miracle. So can you share with the audience who may not be aware of your journey just some of the very trying circumstances you have been blessed to survive?
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. First of all, you know, the thing that I found to be the thing that I survived the most was the actual child abuse. You know, my stepfather, he was real abusive. You know, he would stick our hand in fire, you know, stand you up all night, beat you. So, you know, just surviving that was a miracle for me, as well as all the times when I know that I should have been dead. you know, and we just saw one of the instances where the guy, that's not the first situation I was caught in, where they didn't hit me that time, but there also was a time when they shot me, stood up over me, you know, and when he stood up over me, you know, I could feel the bullet just skinning my head. So from a distance, they shot me in the leg, they shot me in the arm when I'm on the ground, you know. So there are many different instances where I know that God was sparing my life several times with those guys, and then there were other guys that I was having problems with, that where things happen, you know, and God spared my life. And one of the times I actually coded, like I almost died. Well, I died. I got in a fight with a guy, and, you know, a few minutes later, he ran behind me and he like touched me on my back and told me, now you're going to die, not knowing that this guy had to stab me in my lung with an ice pick, you know. And, you know, I remember not feeling well after that incident happened and sitting on the curb. Guys came along, they saw me, you know, they brought me on the porch by my brother. And I remember that there was something telling me not to lay down. Don't know what happened, didn't know that was happening, but something just kept telling me not to lay down. And by it being an ice pick, it pierced my skin, then the hole closed up. I had one speck of blood on my white t-shirt. The last thing I heard was when the ambulance said, we're losing it. When I woke up, you know, I had this chest tube in my side, my mother on my side telling me, you was dead, the people brought you back. You know, and the way that they found out what was really going on with me, that one speck of blood that was on my t-shirt once they got me, you know, into the hospital and stuff. So, you know, there are many instances, man, that I could talk about where, you know, Allah saved my life, you know, spared me. Not to even mention the times that I could have been in penitentiary. I know people who've done less than me, and they're either dead in penitentiary for the rest of their life, or worse, they're still out there running around on those drugs.
You know what I'm saying? For those who are watching, we haven't even gotten to the interview. And that's why when I hear our brother's story, I think about, say, a walking miracle. So, you know, over a year or so ago, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a little more, I think about a year or so ago, you decided to write. Yeah, during the pandemic. So you decided to write about some of those experiences in your biographical book about your life. Can you talk about why you decided to write the book and what you hope to achieve with the book?
Absolutely. So first of all, I was actually working with the mayor's office as a director for the gun violence program here in the city of New Orleans. And oftentimes they would ask me, well, what's my opinion about something? And when I tell it to them, it sounds to me like they were not hearing me, right? So, you know, a lot of times we go off of what research say, opposed to what someone's personal testimony is. Like, I'm a practitioner, you know, and, you know, I live that lifestyle. So when I would give my opinion, I realized that they really didn't get it. So I said, well, maybe if I write it in a book and start giving it to people and people in the community, that people would see and be able to sit down and really have a time to read what I have to say. And the only reason why I wrote the book was to help other people, because I wanted them to experience the same kind of life-changing experiences that I have been experiencing for the last 26 years. So I haven't used in 26 years, you know, so, and I haven't been in the street on that level in 26 years. So I've been out there working though. So that's basically the reason why I wrote the book, was to help other people and, you know, let people read, and most of all, let people know that no matter what's going on in your life, you can change and you can become whatever you want to be if you just put your mind to it, and if you create an environment for that to happen.
Beautiful, man, beautiful. And for those who are watching, you will have an opportunity to find out how you can get access to our brother's book later in the show. So one of the most powerful testimonies I've heard you share was how you realized that the violent path you was on was rooted in an experience that you experienced as a child. So can you talk about how you came to that realization where you connected that, you know, that violence to that experience? And also, can you talk about how could that also be one of the driving forces that is causing the violence that we're seeing in places like New Orleans and all throughout various cities in America?
Yes. So one of the things that, you know, prior to, you know, prior to me coming to change my life as I was a young person, you know, I was molested by both a man and a woman, right? And I didn't realize that those actual acts had shaped me into the person that I was. As I was real angry. I had no respect for women. I did not trust men. I mean, I just had all these different feelings and emotions about everything. Like I've been through a life where, you know, I suffered a lot of pain, even at the hands of the people who said they loved me and reared me. So one of the things that I found out, so in 1996, it was July the 7th to be exact of 1996, which is the day that I stopped using drugs. I got clean. That was the first 24 hours that I had not used no drug. I walked into a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and one of the things I noticed, Allah always did for me what I couldn't do for myself. So in walking into this meeting, I heard a guy share that when he was a young man, his mother best friend, who was a gay man, was molesting him, right? And immediately when I heard that, I just stopped. And I was like, man, did this brother really just say that, right? And I didn't even know people talk about that. But then I realized that I was not the only one that this kind of thing happened to. So as I matriculated through my recovery process, what I found was when I was able to freely talk about that, I felt this weight lifted up off of me, you know, and I realized, you know, in that moment that this was the very secret that was keeping me sick. And my inability to express myself probably done more harm than the act itself, right? So, and I realized, man, this thing really kept me sick. And then as I started with the recovery process and started hearing people's stories and started doing the work in the community and being able to be free and share about my experiences, I've had young men in the community to share with me that these kind of things has happened to them. And what I found was that they were no different than me. We did a lot of overcompensating for our manhood. You couldn't talk to us crazy, you couldn't look at us crazy, because we had to prove to ourselves, this is my story, I had to prove to myself that I was not the act that happened to me, especially by another man. Now, on the flip side of that, you know, me being with an older woman at such a young age, most men would say, man, I don't see the problem with that. But as I grew up into a man, I realized that that has shaped my perception of what a woman is, what a woman is supposed to be. Like, I just didn't have no other respect for women other than, you know, a piece of me or something, right? You know, until I actually embraced the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know, I didn't have no other way to view a woman other than what I was doing.
Brother Cal, man, I'm telling you, man, every time I hear you talk about this, but it's just amazing. And I'm just thinking, I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do this show because more people can hear it. And I know it will free more people as well, man. But we come in, time going by so fast. For those who are watching, tune in, share with this with others, Tag people to get them to come in and watch this interview. We're coming up on our first break, and we're going to be back with more of this powerful story, maybe the most powerful testimony from a guest that I've had on this show. We'll be right back to hear more with our brother Calvin X.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
We're back, brothers and sisters, and you just heard this powerful testimony what our brother shared, from the opening intro to every question that he responded to. And now this next question is really going to knock your socks off, because I want to talk about this, Brother Calvin. You know, you shared with me another powerful testimony, how someone who you shot the relative of this person, if I'm not mistaken, and then their relative came back and shot and tried to kill you. And then years later, you all have crossed paths. Can you share with the audience about how that has turned out?
Absolutely. So first of all, these guys actually the same guy who shot me, same guy who shot the car up while I was in it. You know, these were the same guys. And, you know, bad drug deal gone bad. And so these guys, you know, they sold me the bad drugs. We had a conversation about it. I wound up robbing. Like, man, you ain't gonna just take nothing from me, right? And as a result of that, I seen one of the brothers one day. You know, he saw me. He went to grabbing under his shirt, so I shot him. And so that created the war that we was in. So every time we saw each other, we was going at each other. So after they shot me, you know, while I was recuperating, one of my brothers got in contact with him. And he was like, man, y'all need to squash this. You know, that my mother and their mother was the same way. Like, y'all know each other. Y'all grew up together. Y'all shouldn't be doing this. And, you know, those things went on. So actually, we did wind up squashing the beef. So when I wrote this book, because I have our story in this book, actually the guy I shot and the older brother, I went to their house and signed each one of them a book over to them. You know, I told them, you know, that they were in the book, you know. And just recently, maybe about a month ago, the person who actually shot me, I was sitting in the coffee shop, setting up, about to do some studying. And the guy walked up, he said, man, you remember me? So he had been gone like 15 years, right? So I said, yes, sir, dear brother, I remember you. I said, how are you? He said, man, I'm good. He said, man, give me a hug, right? The brother gave me a hug. He said, man, I hear you out here doing great things. And I told him, I said, yes, sir. I said, actually, I need your help, because I need you to come out with me so we could tell young people that beef could be squashed, that we don't have to be out here killing each other, that we can have disagreements. And if two people or two groups of people want to squash some beef, we can do it. It's all on the individuals. So, you know, the brother being in the halfway house, you know, I try to get him to do many things, but he's in a federal halfway house, so he's under the BOP. So, you know, he's restricted on the things he could do, but I'm looking forward to working with him when he get out. We do keep in contact, and, you know, I want him to start working with me. But because we was able to squash that, that's been like 30, maybe 28, 29 years ago. We are all still here, still alive with our families, raised our children, because we were able to get past that. Even though they shot me and I shot one of them, we were still able to get past that. So that is the story with that. And I'm looking forward to working with the brother out there.
Amazing, man. Amazing. And man, amazing. I'm caught up in it, but we'll go to this next question. You know,
Yes, sir. Yes,
man,
sir.
there are many things, Brother Calvin, that I'm proud of you about, brother. Many things, many accomplishments, the stuff that you just shared. And one of the things that I'm so proud of you about is you going from being I don't even think it was a high school dropout. I think you stopped going even probably in middle school, right? To getting your GED, to not stopping there, but going on to attain other, and that's one of my favorite pictures right there, higher academic degrees.
Absolutely.
So can you talk about what made you do so?
Yes, sir. So the first thing is, brother, I actually tried so many times, even the court telling me, if you don't get the GED, we're going to lock you back up. And I could not for the life of me get wrapped around that, you know. So I also suffered with this real low self-esteem thing as I, you know, was going through my recovery process. So I suffered with the low self-esteem, you know, always had this distorted thinking in my mind that I can't do nothing or I'm not worthy of something, you know. So, you know, after being in recovery a while, it started getting better. And when I joined the nation, it got, man, listen, I just thought I can do anything, you know, after finding out, you know, learning the knowledge of myself, the knowledge of God, and, you know, and just applying myself to the change that was taking place in my life. So it was right after Hurricane Katrina, and we was in the FOI meeting. You know, the minister was speaking to us, and the minister mentioned that he wanted every registered FOI to at least have an equivalency diploma. And actually, Brother Willie, you played a big part in that, because I actually went to a place where you work. I called you and asked you how to get in over there. And what turned out to be one of my biggest fears, like I couldn't do nothing. It only took me 6 weeks to get a GED. All those years of thinking I could not do anything, it took me 6 weeks to get that GED. And immediately after the GED, I went to college, you know, and I got my first, this was 2011. I got the GED. I got my first associate's degree in criminal justice in 2013. I then went to the university and I got a bachelor's degree and an associate's degree. It was a double major. The bachelor's was in criminal justice, and also the associate's was in addictive behaviors, counseling and prevention, which is a field that I work in currently. And after I got the bachelor's, I went back and now I have a master's degree in criminal justice. My concentration is juvenile justice. And I'm also, probably if the pandemic wouldn't have came, I probably have a PhD by now, but I'm also pursuing, you know, trying to get together to do the PhD program as well. So basically, I just want to be an example of change to the people that I serve, because I want them to know that there is nothing on this earth that we can't accomplish, and nothing is too good for God's people. So, you know, if that's one of the things that I want to do as an accomplishment to me and the people that I serve in the community who I love so dearly. So I like to be an example of what I do. And one of the main reasons too, I went back to school, I felt kind of hypocritical making my children go to school, and I dropped out in the 7th grade. Highest grade completed was the 6th grade. So, you know, I had to do something about that as well. And I can say that both my children went to college because I was that example for them that they can do it.
Beautiful. And you know, from my experience working in those GED programs, the majority of people don't come in there and get their GED within that small amount of time. most people are in there for years. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Sometimes, and for all that you had gone through, for you to just to come in and have that fear, and then you come through there and get it, and then in the process of now pursuing a PhD, listen, man, it is. Might have to go back and add some more to that book, brother.
Yes. Well, you know, the story's still being written. So
I know that's
I
right.
wrote it up to a point of time.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't write the future in it, you know, maybe some plans for the future. But man, it's real important that, especially the people who in my community where I grew up, I was considered one of the worst people in the community. You know, and people who see me today, they say, man, I can't imagine you doing that. But I robbed everybody.
Wow.
Like you wasn't in my community selling drugs. Either you was giving me something or I was gonna take it. I was that kind of person, right?
Wow.
At that moment, you know, in time, you know. And so, you know, I just look at it, I always tell people, so Allah says, okay, he the worst one, and then he get me and he clean me up. So nobody else have an excuse. I always tell them that. So,
man, and that's a good segue.
Yeah.
That's a good segue into this next question, because so how did you come into contact with the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Because to me, that too is another very powerful story too.
Absolutely. Man, I met this brother. So we had this furniture store in mid city of New Orleans, and you know, me and the brother who was dealing with the store, we was taking a lot of trips to New York, and one of the things we noticed that the brothers down there had stores, and they had so many different things going on in one store. But we was just selling furniture. So we came back with an idea. Not only did we sell furniture in that store, Brother Roosevelt, who introduced me to the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, was doing signs and t-shirts. I was selling clothes. We were selling that. We were selling cars over there. We was washing cars. Like we had created this whole thing. So in the process of Brother Roosevelt Muhammad moving in, he kept saying, God, give me a hand. God, give me a hand. So in my mind, I'm saying, man, is this dude calling me God? So I finally stopped him and said, brother, what is you calling me? You calling me God? He said, yeah. I said, why? He said, because you are God. And I was like, brother, I'm so far away from the glory of God, man, you could not call me that. He said, brother, you are God. So I knew he was a Muslim because I knew him in the street. We didn't know each other, but I knew of him. But I also used to be amazed at the fact, like, what possessed this brother to be out, look at my words, possessed him to leave the lifestyle. Now he out there selling this paper, right? So I'm like, man, what happened to this brother? You know, and finally, when I sat down with him, I'm telling you, in 20 to 30 minutes, this brother, by Allah's grace and permission, changed my whole life, right? Like all the questions that I ever had about God in my mind, he had an answer for it. And so I said, well, what's my next step? He said, man, you go to the bookstore and you get this book called A Message to the Black Man in America. Now, keep in mind, not only did I have this furniture store, I had a restaurant that I had as well. You know, I'm selling the pig and everything out there. So the restaurant went dead and I stopped selling the pig. So the people were like, man, you're losing your mind. You don't have no pork chops. You don't have no bacon. What's going on? But I had got so wrapped up in reading The Message to the Black Man. Like I couldn't sleep at night. I woke up with it in my hand. I mean, I was just amazed at the information that I was receiving, but it reminded me of a time when I was in the juvenile jail and one of the guards, because I always did read, and I was reading one of them Donald Goins books, one of them pimping books, right? He said, man, I noticed you're always reading. He said, but what you're reading has no substance. He said, I'm going to give you this book. He said, when you get through with it, you give it back to me. And he gave me the Autobiography of Malcolm X. Right? I was like 15 years old. And I read the entire book. I was amazed at it then. But what I didn't realize that it was watering the seed. Right? So when I did reached the brother, when I met Brother Roosevelt, it brought back all the things I read about Brother Malcolm and his experience as the brother was giving me the teaching. So man, my whole insides was just turning. Like my whole world had got turned upside down. Like this information was doing something to me. So after I read the book, I asked Ro, well, what's happening, Brother Ro? What I do now? He said, come to the mosque on Sunday, right? And I remember coming to the mosque the very first day I stood up, you know, and Brother Willie, you told me when I got registered that I was the first FOI. Registered FOI under you when you became the minister.
And Sister Angela was the first MGT, man, and you were the first FOI.
And I was the first FOI.
I remember when you came there, you had like a tie-dye color shirt on.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Right. And,
wow, man.
And my life has been moving upward ever since, you know. Some setbacks here and there, but it didn't stop me from my journey to, you know, change my old reality into this new reality that I'm experiencing right now.
Oh, beautiful, man. So the time is going by fast. We're going to cut to our next break. But then when we come back, telling you all, like I'm telling people, if you want to see a miracle in live and present right now, you have to watch this interview, share this interview, because trust me, somebody's going to hear this interview and it's going to be a spark in their life. I just feel it. I've never said that before, but I just feel it. So we're going to be right back to hear more about this, more of the interview with our brother Calvin X. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App, NNV News.
AsiaticMinds.com, the curriculum of study from the University of God's Mind. Education that enhances the quality of learning through a virtual school system. The science of mathematics, communication, and deductive reasoning. Our children are the future. Invest in your destiny. To enroll now, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
Muhammad's economic blueprint, the collective power of our dollars to build a future for ourselves. With 5 cents a day, 35 cents a week, $1.40 a month, and $18.20 a year multiplied by 16 million wage earners would give us $291 million in 1 year. Everyone can give 35 cents a week as an investment in our future. Donate now and see what our pennies, nickels, and dimes can accomplish. Visit economicblueprint.org.
And we're back, brothers and sisters. We want to continue this interview, and I'll get right into it. So in addition to you being one of the conflict mediators for the New Orleans Peacekeepers here, you've also worked and oversaw a city-run program that was aimed at reducing the violence in the city of New Orleans. And these positions have allowed you to give like a firsthand experience along with what you have, your life story as well, right? So, give you a firsthand experience with the victims and also the perpetrators of the violence that's plaguing our community. So from your perspective, why are the cities not being as successful in their attempts to combat violence when they're pumping millions of dollars into these programs?
I believe that one of the things that that hinders the city from being effective at programs is, number one, being tied to city government and worked in the communities to stop shootings and killings is a hindrance. You cannot be tied to the government who works with law enforcement. Not that we have a problem with law enforcement, but it makes it hard for us to get out and get the information we need to be able to go out and stop people from getting killed. Now, we were campaigning to stop shootings and killings. So it was ceasefire, cure violence, campaign to stop shootings and killings. So we didn't have a law enforcement component where we actually worked hand in hand with law enforcement. But if you're working with city government, the mayor is over the police. So there's no way a program she have won't have affiliation or won't give the perception of affiliation to the community. So and another thing is, historically, when you think about police and community, they have a very poor relationship. And I also think that they don't allow the people who are the best knowers from our experience to actually do what we do to go out and stop the shootings and killings. You know, since I've been there, they like to exploit the people we work with. Like, I can't give you names of people who we out there working with. I can't do that because even now I don't work with you. I still got to go to the community. So I just think that they don't use the right people. You know, they don't. And what I found was, and this is my opinion, I found this. At Ceasefire, we worked in a community that was one of the worst communities when they bought the program in Central City, New Orleans. Ceasefire got in that community where they averaged 13, 14 murders a year. And 2 years later, we went 290 something days without a killing. So when all the stats came out and when the news played it, it was like the police went around there and cleaned up the community. And I'm like, hold up. You have to give the brothers in the community, like all of us collectively together made this happen, but they would not recognize us even for, you know, the work that we've done. 290 something days, 6 district police station been in that community for decades and was not ever able to reduce shootings. And here we are, come in the neighborhood in the next 2 years and able to bring a 15 murder a year community down to 290 days without a killing. Man, that was amazing. And we didn't get the credit we need, and we don't get the platform that we need to do what we know how to do, because we are the people who have the relationships with the people in the community. We don't want to lock them up. We want to change them. We want to give them the opportunity that we had. You know, we want them to have what we have when we changed our life. So that is one of the things. And when it comes down to it, we have a bunch of people who don't understand the people that they are working with, trying to make decisions, and they just can't do it. So that's just my opinion on it. Like, we spend money on a lot of things, but we rather punish the people for their behavior than try to help fix the thing that's driving the behavior. And that was something that, you know, that didn't set well with me.
That's amazing, because for those people who are watching this, you may not know the area that he's talking about, but if you've listened to Cash Money, or if you listen to No Limit, when they talk about the Third Wall, Calio, Magnolia is right in that area, and to go 200 and what do you say, like 290 some days, that's almost you're only a couple of months away from almost like a year or something. Right. In that area is very significant. So I'll transition to this question. You know, we recently launched this mod service to address addiction, and you'll be taking the lead on that as the addictive behavior counselor. So this is a 2-part question. What would be your advice to someone who is battling addiction, you know, right now, who may see this, or even to those who have loved ones who are battling addiction? That's the first part of the question. So
the first thing I want to do is clear up the addiction part, because most people, when we think about addiction, we only think about drugs. drugs. But addiction stands all by itself because people are addicted to other things. You know, even up to the violence out here. Once you shoot a person the first time, it's easy for you to do it again and again and again and again. So addiction stands by itself, right? But the thing that I would tell a person that's addicted to anything is, man, look, you're not the only one. You know, I know how I feel to be caught up in your addiction where you want to change, but something inside of you can't get right. You be trying and trying and trying, and you can't get it right. You know, so just seek help. You know, I would tell people with addiction problem that it's not your fault that you're sick. Most people may say, well, he made a decision to do these drugs himself. Yeah, but drug usage, gambling, sex addiction, all these are just manifestations of something that's chemically going wrong inside of the mind of a person. And one of the things that the research said about addiction is it changes the structure and function of the brain long before you even know that you're suffering with this disease. And what it does is it damages the decision-making part of the brain, where you would take chances that most people would not take. You know, so one of the things that about addiction is you're not alone. There are places like AANACA that you can go and get a better understanding. And most of all, your religious institution, you know, they have faith-based recovery programs, you know, whatever your preference is, you know, that you can go in there and get the help you need. And, you know, the thing I would say is invest in your own recovery, invest in your own change.
Rather beautifully said. And what, you know, in this new service that we've launched, you know, what's your vision? What's your vision that you would like to accomplish and some of the stuff you would like to do with this service? And we'll get your response before we go into this next break.
Absolutely. So what I would like to do with that service is this. I want to educate the communities. Like, I believe this, if most children, even if we go into schools and do it, if most children, you really understand not the short-term effects of using drugs, but the long-term effects of it, it will probably stop them from even using drugs. So they look at the effect that they get, they're getting high off it, it feel good, but the long-term effects is it damages your perception, it damages your brain cells. You know, there are so many, you know, it causes physical sickness like heart disease, you know, cancer. I mean, we have all these different effects that these drugs have on us. So if we properly educate the children on, because in our community, people don't talk about stuff. You know, we are just an example for the children. They're only doing what they see us doing. They think it's cool to smoke weed because it's socially acceptable. But if they knew the long-term effects of marijuana, they probably wouldn't smoke it. You know, so my thing is educating the communities on it, you know, giving them an opportunity to express themselves, you know, teach them coping skills. You know, these are the kind of things I want to do with the addictive behavior thing, because the children are already, the ones who are not doing drugs, they're already hooked on the internet, the cell phones, the games. So all of these things have a chemical relationship with the brain and the neurotransmitters. So that's what addiction is all about.
Beautiful. Well said, man. So we're coming up on our last break, brothers and sisters, and we'll be concluding this interview when we come back to hear more of this dynamic testimony with our brother Calvin X. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
AsiaticMinds.com, the curriculum of study from the University of God's Mind. Education that enhances the quality of learning through a virtual school system. The science of mathematics, communication, and deductive reasoning. Our children are the future. Invest in your destiny. To enroll now, visit Asiaticminds.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
And we're back, family. I want to get into this question. You know, I want to go back to your book, Brother Calvin. Can you share with us any feedback you have received from those who had the opportunity to purchase your book and read it?
Absolutely, man. One that was real important to me, and I'm trying to keep her anonymity when I do this, but she is a sister that I grew up with, right? And we were real close. And the times that, you know, she pointed out a time, I remember it all so well. I was in the boys' home. And as she read the book, so I was in a boys' home and I was home for the weekend and I had to go back. And when I left her house, she shared with me that a male family member raped her. And she said that she had never ever told anyone about that, as well as she had pushed it down so far that she had forgot that it even happened until she read the book. And I was like blown away with that, because I remember the day. She made me remember the day that it happened, and I remembered it. So that was one of the things that I found to be real profound with that. I had brothers in the community, you know, pull me to the side, you know, and tell me about different experiences they had with being physically abused. They never talked about it. People wonder why I'm out here like I'm out here, brother. I could feel you and this and that, you know. So I've had those kind of reactions. I've had reactions from my own family members because I wrote this book about, because, you know, some people just feel that you shouldn't be sharing things that happen in your family. So, you know, I've had those kind of reactions as well. I've had a young brother mother come to me that I was dealing with and told me that her son and her daughter was raped by her boyfriend, right? And her son had been turned into this monster. So this is how I wound up working with him. And she told me what happened to him. I never told him that I knew what happened to him. But each time I would try to engage with him, I would try to tell him my story in hopes that he would be able to let it go. But all he could think about is everything was about protecting his manhood. He's in prison now. But everything was about protecting his manhood. And he's been shot up a few times and everything. So this book brought on a lot of different emotions in different people, right? And you know, I and that was the reason why I wanted to write the book, man. We have so many things, Brother Willie, that goes on inside of us that didn't happen to us, that we push down. Trauma is not the things that happen to you. Those are traumatic experiences. Trauma is the thing that happens inside of us because of the things that happen to us. So now we have these people, and one of the defense mechanisms is called repression, right? Where we push that stuff down and we don't ever think about it. But the thing that happens is it thinks about us. Like, we wonder why we reacting to certain situations, why things are going on. So when I write this book, when you read my book, I am giving you a justification, not an excuse, a justification on why I did the things that I've done. So that's why I always tell people this: you don't know these young people's story out here. We have to stop judging them and try to find out what is going on with them. So people have shared those kind of experiences with me, being abused, being sexually abused. I've gotten all kind of feedback with that. And even to the point where some guys say, man, I don't believe you even said anything like that, bro. How you tell people stuff like that? So my answer to that question with that person was this: I believe that the reason my life was going the way it was going because I didn't talk about it. So I'm free now. I can talk about it. I ain't worried about nobody judging me or anything. So I just want people to have that freedom to be able to express themselves and talk about what's going on with them. So, because you know what they say, pressure busts pipes. So if it don't come out one way, it's gonna come out the other way. And parents, be careful what we tell our children. The things you say to them becomes their inner voice, and that's how they act. So I just like to keep that real.
Powerful, man. Thank you for sharing it. So how can those interested in not only purchasing your book, but even probably booking you for an interview or a speaking engagement, how could they reach you? How could they get the book?
They can get the book at Amazon. It's called The Overcomer: From the Gutter to the Udder. Let's see. I thought I had a copy of it. Oh, I do. Close to me. There we go, right there. So if you go to Amazon, I have an electronic book as well as a paperback book. Or you can go to Community Bookstore on Bayou Road if you're local in the city and see Sister Vera, and you can buy the book there as well. Or here's my number, 504-914-8590 if you're local in the city. Or if you're not, if you just want to buy it from me, I can make sure that I mail it to you. You can just call me and we can make arrangements for that to happen. Again, my number is 504-914-8590. That will be my contact number for interviews, for speaking engagements, and even for the book, or if you have any questions.
And as we get ready to narrow it down, I just thought about this as I was preparing the questions. Just what are you grateful for when you reflect over your life, man?
It may sound funny to some people, but I'm grateful for everything that happened.
Wow.
Because one of the things I realized is that, when Allah created us, He created us with purpose. And I believe that my purpose here on this earth is to help other people and be the best example that I can be to them of what change looks like. I believe that's my purpose, right? And I believe that, that my story and the way that I live my life changes and transforms people's lives. So I believe that without those experiences, do I want to relive them again? No. Because every time I talk about them, I relive them, So, when I'm talking like this, even because I'm able to express it, doesn't mean that it still doesn't have its effects on me, right? So, but I'm willing to take that chance if it's going to help somebody else, And I found that in my life, throughout all these institutions and stuff, I remember people coming and talking to us. And I remember hearing people, you know, things that I use today that help me move along in my life. So it's really important, you know, that, and, you know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said one time that sometimes the only book or Quran people are going to read is you. Like some people can't read. So, you know, we have to be real, watch how we move, watch what we say, watch what we do. We have to be the best example to people when we're trying to help them.
You're ready to close out. Was there anything you shared so much? Was there anything you did not have the chance to share that you didn't get a chance? If so, here's your opportunity, or any closing words.
Well, I just want to say, man, I appreciate everyone who got on to listen to my testimony. And I genuinely would like people to experience the life that it's still in motion. I'm still learning. But it's so many things. If you really heard what I was saying, it's still so many things that I struggle with and that I work through. But if I don't tell people, sometimes they wouldn't even know it.
Never.
You know, so that's the thing. So, you know, I'm real grateful for the opportunity, Brother Willie. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm truly grateful to the minister, because the minister is the reason why I have a relationship with my parents. Now, even though my father died, but he's the only reason why I have a relationship with my mother. And we've been building it ever since, you know. But he is the reason why, you know, that those relationships exist, and the reason why I'm still able to maintain the relationships that I have, just being under his teaching and under his guidance. So I'm real grateful to everybody who's been a part of my life and helping to build the person that I am today.
Beautiful, man. Listen, brother, dynamic, brother, and you're touching people. I would imagine, you know, I know some people locally, everybody watching that Saints game, but people get the replays, and we're going to share clips. It's just so much. Thank you for sharing what you shared. Thank you for all of the work that you are doing and continue to do, man. Thank you for being an inspiration and being an example of a miracle, brother. Like, I read in the Bible and the Quran, people talk about miracles, but if somebody was to ask me, what was a miracle, I'm pointing to you, man. So may Allah continue to bless you,
brother. Thank you so much. Praise you.
And for those who are watching, we thank you all for tuning in, and we ask that you share this interview. You can get it on YouTube, share it, send a link to somebody, and tell them to sit down and watch this interview. So we're going to go through these announcements, and once again, we are pushing, we're chipping away at this debt. Salute to our producer, Brother Muhasi, for his contribution. We appreciate that, my brother. We're chipping away so we can do via Cash App, Moss number 46, $ Moss 46. You can go to GoFundMe, PayPal. We're chipping away. Continue to keep contributing, and we will greatly appreciate it. And we appreciate everybody that's watching as well. So also in regards to the prostate screenings, we've been, by Allah's grace, we've been helping people. And as I said, we're now able to help people not just in the city of New Orleans as well, right? We can help people outside of the city of New Orleans. So make sure you reach out to us and see. We'll get your zip code and get you to take this free exam, which we are paying for. In addition to that, we just had our brother. Y'all been seeing the flyer, but now you had the opportunity to hear him and hear his message. You see his number, 504-914-8590. You can get there and check him out. And then in addition to that, get ready for we have the prayer. Our prayer line. You can send us an email, contact us, so we can put your name on our prayer list if you were interested in doing that, so we can offer some prayers for you during this time. And then in addition to that, what we have is the books. You can go to our book website, www.mosque46.org, and you can see the selection of books that we have. And if you're local, we're in the process of stocking our local bookstore here in our mosque. So come on through and you can, get some of the readings. And so thank you, brothers and sisters who are there. Make sure you subscribe to NNV. Make sure you subscribe to Muhammad Mosque number 46 on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. Continue to support, and may Allah continue to bless each and every one of you all. Peace.
Go home and study. See, many of you don't study your religion. And you think you're going to attain something without study. But if you believe in something, you need to study it so you can become proficient in what you do. Now watch this. God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.